What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Game Plan Insights, aka GPI. You know who I am. I don't have to do an introduction like I did the past few videos, but we're gonna get straight to the breaking news that happened in the NBA around 2-3 days ago from the time of recording and posting this video. So, breaking news out of the NBA: Damian Lillard out indefinitely with blood clots in his right calf. So, for those that don't know the logistics, he has the same injury as what Victor Wembanyama suffered this season, but Victor Wembanyama is in the shoulder while Damian Lillard is in the right calf. So, this injury is called deep vein thrombosis. I hope I pronounced that right, but just to shorten it, they call it DVT. And basically, it occurs when a blood clot, what they also call a thrombus, maybe I might have pronounced it wrong, so excuse me. But basically, when a blood clot forms in one or more area of the deep veins in the body, basically, usually happens in the leg. So I might got the definition wrong, so let me repeat again. It is a condition where it occurs when a blood clot, which is also called a thrombus, forms in one or more of the deep veins in the body, and it usually happens in the legs. So for Victor Wembanyama, it is a rare occasion because it happens in the shoulder. It happened in his shoulder. For Damian Lillard, yes, it's rare, but it technically happened in a place that if you're going to develop this condition or this blood clot, it happened, like for him, it happened close to where it is. Like if y'all don't know where your calf muscle is, it is basically the posterior, which is the back compartment of the lower leg. So basically for Damian Lillard's case, it happened unfortunately in a place that if you're going to set for this condition, it should be. Not saying it can't happen in other places, but for Damian Lillard's sake, it happened in a condition, where he suffered it. So, what is my reaction to it? For Damian Lillard, it's just top of what's been going on this season for him. He already missed 3 games by the time he was diagnosed with this condition due to calf soreness this year. And he has had a little history of calf injuries going back to 2022-2023 season. So for Damian Lillard, it is sad. First, I want to give out prayers to him and his family as they're dealing with this. I'm not saying he's going to die or he will die. I would never say that. Never wish ill upon somebody's death. But it is a scary situation, and whenever you hear the word blood clots, you automatically stop and think, okay, we gotta take this with the utmost serious that it can be, because you don't know if they need to retire. You don't know how bad the blood clots can be. Look at Chris Bosh. Chris Bosh had to retire with blood clots in his own, if y'all don't remember. After winning the NBA Finals 2013, 2014, around 2015-ish, developed blood clots in his own, and that was it. So for Damian Lillard's sake, and Victor Wembanyama, you just pray that they can come back the same players that they were. Now let's talk about it from the Bucks perspective. What's next? What's next for the Bucks? Say goodbye to your playoffs. You already had a thin shot of winning anyway, but when one of your best players is missing, just say goodbye. Because I don't know if Damian Lillard's gonna come back during this season or the postseason. Depending on how, the earliest he can come back is potentially. The earliest he can come back, excuse me, sorry, I had to pause for a second. But the earliest he can come back, maybe is the NBA Finals, and everybody in their right mind knows the Bucks ain't making it to the Finals. They're not beating Boston or Cleveland. Hey, I wouldn't even have them beating the Knicks if everybody was healthy. That's just how sorry of a team the Bucks Bucks have with the sorry coach and Doc Rivers. I don't care if he won that one title. You have 4 Hall of Famers on it. You have Rondo, Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett. 3 of them already in the Hall of Fame. And one will be in there soon, Rajon Rondo. I'm not giving you credit when you got 4 Hall of Famers. Heck, anybody could have won a title with them, with those, but I'm not going to disrespect him too much because he is an NBA champion. But this is the same guy that has has the most 3-1 blown leads in NBA history. So, you take and get with Doc Rivers. But, for the Bucks case, you know they're not going to the finals. So, what's next? Now we gotta ask the question, does Giannis want to stay in Milwaukee? Do he think the Bucks can still compete for a championship? Because they can't attract free agents. They have to get the best names, they have to trade. Think about it. They traded for Damian Lillard. I think they traded for Bobby Portis, if I'm not mistaken. They traded for Brook Lopez, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think Brook signed as a free agent. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. But they are not a free agent attraction place to go. First of all, it's too cold. Nobody don't want to be going to no Milwaukee in -5 degrees or 15 degree weather. I'm just sorry. And then 2, the lifestyle. There's really nothing to do in Milwaukee except, basketball. You got the Brewers who's starting to, so you got the Brewers. They don't have a football team. The closest is Green Bay, but that's cold. So, in terms of lifestyle, Wisconsin, the Milwaukee area, there's just not a lot of things to do. It's a nice place to go, but players, they want to play basketball and enjoy their life outside basketball when they don't have to play games. When, they can just go out for a day. And Milwaukee just don't have the attraction that it needs to play. That's the big deal. So for Damian Lillard to be out with this man, because I think if I'm not mistaken, I think there is, by the time I'm posting this, at least maybe 11 or 12 games remaining. We might be in the home stretch of 10, if I'm being honest, but there's not a lot of games left. So for this injury to happen to Damian Lillard, it could not have come at a worse time because say what you want to say about Milwaukee, but you got Damian Lillard, you got Giannis Antetokounmpo, you got Brook Lopez, you got 2 champions on there, and then you got 2 playoff performers on there, and Dame and Giannis, they could both average 30 for playoffs if they could, or if they needed to. It's not like they both suck. But that's just, that is the reality that we're living in. I don't want to call it reality, but that is just, the circumstances around us is that Damian Lillard and, Giannis Antetokounmpo not being able to work together in the playoffs again. It's like, dang, I want to see these 2 when they're healthy, but one is already hurt. And because one is already hurt, now Giannis got to carry the load. And trust me, they don't have a Chris Middleton, that can help the load. The roster itself is very limited. Your second best player is Brook Lopez. And he's not even the same Brook Lopez. I think Brook Lopez is 34, 35 years old. He's not even the same Brook Lopez. So, when you think Milwaukee had a chance, a slim chance because of them 2, now that slim chance went to 0% because they don't have one of their guys. And now, when Doc Rivers should be fired because you took over from a guy who was 15 games over 500 and you made them even worse than they could have already been. And I get it, Adrian Griffin didn't know what he was doing potentially. Whatever you want to say about Adrian Griffin, fine. I don't didn't look deep enough into the man's history to know how good or bad of a coach he was. Milwaukee fans can tell me. But what I do know is that for Milwaukee fans, Adrian Griffin did have a job, I want to say before he got fired, 33-16, 33-15, but I know it was over 12 games, 500. And you fired him because of what? Maybe Giannis asked him to be fired. Could be true, yeah, because he didn't like, he was, Adrian Griffin was probably looking at it from a coach's thing like, hey, we love your brother, but your brother's probably taking up a roster spot. Maybe that's what Adrian Griffin said. I don't know. But you got a worse coach in Doc, who's even worse than Adrian Griffin. Like, record-wise, I think Doc is what? I want to say under 500 since being a coach by 2 games. So Doc's not even coaching good. Yes, you can say the roster's limited, but Doc's not even doing a good coaching job. And then you got Darvin Ham as the assistant. Come on, bro. Come on. Everybody knows how that Darvin Ham era in Los Angeles ended. And that's your top assistant? I get it. Probably not enough top assistants out there. But come on. So, do you even want to fire Doc and give the reins to Darvin Ham? I know Giannis probably love him. That's probably why he probably wouldn't mind. But that's probably the only reason you're hiring Darvin Ham. Because of Giannis. So, for Damian Lillard, this injury does suck. Like I said, prayers to him and Wembanyama that they can come back better versions of themselves. But history has shown by Brandon Ingram, who suffered the same injury. History has shown they can come back from this. But long story short, every time you hear the word blood clots, you always stop and just think, let's pray this ain't, pray that they can get through this condition without any setbacks, and it doesn't have to force them away from the game that they love, no matter what's the sport. But, that's my reaction on it. Thank you all for watching. Like, share, comment, subscribe if you're brand new. I'm out, and